Breaking news today. The media is fervently focusing on Trump's awkward comments about Epstein, labeling it the scandal of the century. Meanwhile, they seem to overlook the intricate web of elite connections and the years of bipartisan cover-ups. What's behind this apparent double standard?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
MSNBC reports that Nicole Wallace is responding to President Trump's claim that Jeffrey Epstein stole people from Mar-A-Lago. Let's consider what's truly at play. The establishment media, eager for scandal, attempts to link the president to Epstein's crimes, while ignoring the numerous Democrats and global elites who have been associated with Epstein for years. Why does the narrative shift away from facts whenever the power structure is threatened? Consider whether this coverage is about seeking justice for Epstein's victims, or if it's an attempt to use the tragedy to undermine a political opponent. The media has fixated on Trump's admittedly awkward choice of words, overlooking similar affiliations on their own side. Recall the lack of accountability and transparency when Democrats were in power, with no outrage over the absence of scrutiny on powerful figures. The true scandal lies not in Trump's words, but in the bipartisan shield that protects the global elite from facing consequences. Both political parties have obscured the truth, yet only one is consistently criticized. Why is there no mention of those who spent years close to Epstein at private island gatherings? This issue extends beyond Trump or Epstein. It's about a system that guards the powerful, steers the narrative, and relies on public distraction. We must ask why there is such a concerted effort to divert our attention. Hold on to your hats.
That guy, Joe Rogan, is out with a crystal clear warning for Donald Trump that Trump's evasiveness and Trump's gaslighting on the Epstein case is hurting his credibility now on everything.
What we are witnessing is a classic example of the mainstream media using the Epstein controversy to undermine the current administration. It's unsurprising that the coverage focuses predominantly on one political side, while ignoring the long-standing connections many prominent left-wing figures had with Epstein. This selective outrage seems more about scoring political points than seeking justice for the victims. Admittedly, the administration's handling of this issue has been flawed. Many expected full transparency and decisive action, and the absence of such has provided an opening for criticism. Even from previous supporters, it's crucial to recognize that this saga is indicative of a deeper corruption within our elite institutions. The real scandal lies in how global elites from both parties have managed to evade accountability for decades, with media investigations conveniently aligning with political agendas. This issue goes beyond any single administration or political figure. It's about a systemic failure that has allowed the powerful to operate above the law, shielded by a media too willing to divert attention from the failures and corruption of past administrations. Despite having ample opportunity, the previous White House did little to advance justice in this matter, resorting to stonewalling and empty rhetoric. The current selective outrage serves merely as a smokescreen to obscure years of inaction and complicity. What we need is a thorough examination of not just one individual's connections, but the entire network of elites who have skirted the law for too long. The American people deserve the full truth, which includes holding everyone accountable regardless of their party or position. Until there is genuine transparency from all involved, and not just politically motivated disclosures, public skepticism towards these media narratives will persist. This explains why many Americans are weary of endless foreign entanglements and globalist agendas, while the real threats to our republic are internal. Our focus should be on eradicating corruption at the highest levels, restoring trust in our institutions, and ensuring that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the law.
But part of the reason that Rogan said that Epstein is a, quote, line in the sand, part of what he argues, part of what the complaint is centered around, is that Donald Trump is now at the center of so many more unanswered questions that seem to multiply with every comment Trump makes. On Monday, Trump said this.
For years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was...
Rogan's remarks about Epstein draw a line in the sand, highlighting a growing frustration not only among critics, but also among previous supporters of the administration. This frustration stems from the politicization of the Epstein issue, which has been used by the left and their media allies to attack Republicans, while ignoring the long-standing connections between Epstein, prominent Democrats, and global elites. The core issue extends beyond individual statements to a broader pattern of selective outrage and double standards that have long plagued our institutions. At stake here is more than the reputation of a single political figure. It's the integrity of our justice system and the credibility of our governing class. The demand for transparency, whether it's about releasing the full Epstein files or holding every connected elite accountable, continues to be blocked by those who benefit from the status quo. The current administration's directive for the Justice Department to review and potentially release all Epstein-related documents is a positive change from the previous administration's stonewalling and obfuscation, which failed to pursue justice and root out corruption, leaving the public with lingering questions. The partisan divide on this issue is stark. While Republicans face scrutiny over every rumor and accusation, there's a notable silence from the left regarding their own connections and failures. This isn't merely a political issue. It's a structural problem rooted in how globalist interests have infiltrated both parties and shielded themselves from accountability. The American public's skepticism towards investigations and media narratives that target only one side, while ignoring the bipartisan corruption at the heart of our elite institutions, is justified. Implementing policy changes that prioritize full transparency and real accountability, irrespective of political affiliation, is crucial for restoring public trust. This means releasing all relevant documents and ensuring that no one, be it a former president, a billionaire, or a media mogul, is above the law. Failing to do so will only lead to further erosion of trust in our institutions, increased polarization, and a pervasive sense that there are different rules for the powerful and for ordinary Americans. This issue is part of a broader trend of institutional distrust and rejection of globalist interventionist policies that have disappointed the country for decades. Americans demand a government that prioritizes their interests over those of a protected elite class. As long as the left and their media allies continue to use scandals for political gain while ignoring their own complicity, the public will remain rightfully skeptical. The way forward is clear: genuine transparency, equal justice, and a renewed commitment to the principles that have made this country great.
Talking about. Trump is talking in that sound you just listened to about a victim named Virginia Giuffre. She's one of Jeffrey Epstein's better-known victims. We know a lot about her as a victim.
SNBC's coverage of the Epstein scandal, particularly the tragic story of Virginia Giuffre, consistently exhibits editorial bias. The network often views the president's remarks with undue suspicion, focusing on his choice of words rather than addressing the broader issues of elite abuse and the failures of previous administrations. Although the seriousness of sex trafficking and the need for justice for victims like Giuffre are rightly emphasized, the coverage falls short in several critical areas. Firstly, MSNBC's fact-checking and accuracy are lacking. The network tends to highlight every ambiguous phrase or evolving statement from the White House, amplifying minor inconsistencies while overlooking the more significant issues of inaction and cover-up by past administrations. Also, there is little acknowledgement of the current efforts to review and potentially release all Epstein-related documents, which is a significant improvement after years of obstruction under previous leadership. In terms of balance and objectivity, MSNBC's reporting is predictably biased. Significant airtime is devoted to scrutinizing every Republican error while downplaying or ignoring Epstein's connections with prominent figures on the left. This selective reporting damages the credibility of their journalism and perpetuates the notion that the mainstream media prioritizes globalist agendas over the interests of the American public. Regarding sourcing and expert opinions, MSNBC predominantly features former Republican operatives who now support Democrat viewpoints, giving the impression of bipartisan agreement. Dissenting voices are independent experts, particularly those who could discuss the bipartisan nature of elite protection or the previous administration's failures, are rarely presented. Visually, the network uses emotionally charged imagery, close-ups of victims, dramatic reenactments, and archival footage of high-profile figures to stir outrage. While effective in highlighting the gravity of the crimes, this approach sometimes veers into sensationalism, overshadowing the need for substantive policy discussions and systemic reform. A notable strength of the coverage is its focus on the human cost of Epstein's crimes, especially the attention given to victims like Virginia Giuffre. This humanizes the scandal, reminding us that these are not just political issues but real tragedies affecting real people. The tendency to politicize these stories may alienate viewers who seek justice rather than partisan drama. MSNBC could improve its coverage by broadening its investigative scope to include how both political parties and their elite donors have fostered a culture of impunity. Offering greater transparency, scrutinizing all implicated individuals equally, and challenging entrenched interests regardless of political affiliation would better serve the public. The American people demand accountability from all elite figures, not just those currently in power. Until the media holds every party to the same standards, skepticism about their motives will continue. The true story here is not about partisan gamesmanship, but about ensuring that no one, no matter their wealth or political connections, can escape justice.
The files created by the investigators that sent Ghislaine Maxwell to prison and before he committed suicide, Jeffrey Epstein to jail, those files are a hoax. But Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted, will singularly tell a truth that can't be found in the files, I guess?
The notion that the files from federal investigators, which led to Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction and Jeffrey Epstein's imprisonment before his suicide, are a hoax, distracts from the significant economic and institutional consequences of elite criminality. Questioning these files not only challenges the legal process, but also strikes at the credibility of our justice system, potentially destabilizing financial markets and eroding trust in the American economy. Consider the ripple effects when the public perceives that the powerful can manipulate or obscure their criminal records. Confidence in every institution, from the courts to Wall Street, is undermined. This isn't just a concern for the political elite. It impacts household finances, retirement accounts, and the value of the dollar. As the rule of law seems flexible for the elite, investor confidence wavers, leading to market volatility. High-profile scandals among the elite often coincide with increased risk premiums and a shift to safer assets, as families and businesses try to protect themselves from the unpredictable actions of those at the top. Ghislaine Maxwell's legal strategies, including her conditional offer to testify before Congress, highlight the transactional nature of justice for the well-connected. Serving a 20-year sentence for her role in Epstein's trafficking ring, she now attempts to use what she claims is the truth for personal advantage, demanding legal concessions before she shares information that could expose more abusers. This approach to justice, where some negotiate terms, contradicts the principle of equal treatment under the law. Economically, this saga explains why many Americans distrust globalist institutions and multinational interests that appear to operate beyond national laws. These elite networks, which protect their members from prosecution, are the same ones pushing for international trade deals that undermine American manufacturing, outsource jobs, and weaken the middle class. When accountability seems negotiable for the powerful, justifying the sacrifices required by global economic integration becomes more challenging. For small businesses and working families, the repercussions of elite impunity are tangible. They manifest in higher taxes to cover the cost of ongoing investigations, lost productivity as public trust declines, and inflationary pressures from market uncertainty. When media and political narratives focus on protecting specific interests, it's ordinary Americans who bear the cost, at the grocery store, at the gas pump, and through the diminished value of their savings. The financial sector must also consider the long-term effects. When major scandals are met with evasion or partial transparency, institutional investors start doubting the effectiveness of regulatory oversight. This skepticism can lead to capital flight, reduced investment, and a deterrent effect on entrepreneurship. The American economy relies on clear rules and consistent enforcement. The demand for transparency is about more than politics. It's about reinstating the conditions necessary for markets to function effectively and for families to thrive. Until every file is disclosed and every participant held accountable, the economic toll of elite corruption will continue to grow, weakening the foundations of American prosperity. And there you have it. The real scandal is not Donald Trump's response, but how the so-called elites on both sides protect their own while the media runs interference. The Democrats and their media allies are keen to shift focus from their failures by implicating Trump in every controversy, ignoring the serious corruption exposed by Epstein's crimes. Under the previous administration, corruption was rampant, borders weakened, and American families suffered. Now, with President Trump back in office, we have a leader who prioritizes our country. Consider why those who failed you are so eager to silence truth-tellers. The answer is simple. The truth threatens their control over power. Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's keep holding them accountable. Good day, good evening, and good night.